Well, according to the EA Met service in Spain, the Spanish all-time record for the month of April is 37.4 Celsius or 99.3 Fahrenheit. And the temperatures now for the second day in a row has surpassed 36 Celsius in parts of Spain, and it looks as if temperatures notch up just a fraction more tomorrow afternoon. We may see, at the very least, the April record being tied and more than likely surpassed tomorrow, if not on Friday in southern Spain. We could even be knocking the door of 40 Celsius. But thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Hogan's European Outlook. Before we get into the video, please like, share, and subscribe. As always, your view and comments are always very appreciated indeed. And there is a lot of things going on in the weather at the moment across Europe, across the world as well, and of course a global weather and climate report edition 38, I believe, if not 39. I can't remember now. There's been that many done. But the upcoming weekend will have the global weather and climate report looking at the extremes that have taken place, not just here in the UK and Europe, but also around the world as well. Global sea surface temperatures at record-breaking levels. We'll look at that. We're also going to look at the controversial subject of underwater volcanoes being a possible, and I have to emphasize the word possible. This is a theory that was first kind of talked about back in 2015. I know Weatherbell's Joe Bastardi has discussed this quite in depth recently as well, about the potential of underwater volcanoes warming the oceans from bottom up. Now, that is a very controversial subject. It is a counter argument to the CO2 warming that we're seeing, of course, as well. So I'm going to be looking at that in a little bit more detail, as well as the El Nino, as well as other things coming up on Sunday's global weather and climate report. So if you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe. There is plenty of things coming up over the next day or so. A May Outlook will be produced here on both on YouTube as well as on markhoganweather.com. So do stay tuned for that. And as well as that, in the coming weeks, there will be a summer forecast published probably towards the end of May. But I'm starting to build my ideas more and more with regards to the summer forecast. Very interesting stuff indeed. So I do encourage you to keep it right here on the channel, as well as check out markhoganweather.com on a regular basis. So, of course, it's all about the heat across southwestern portions of Europe at the moment here. The UK largely missing out on any real appreciable heat. As you can see here, this is the temperatures as of 5:30 p.m. Bear in mind that the sun strength at this time of the year is nearly mid-August level, believe it or not. Certainly feels like mid-August across southern portions of Spain at the moment, where we've got widespread 30s. Like I said, we've already exceeded 36 Celsius for our second day in a row. Not that far off that record of 37.4 set back in 2011. But we've got quite the contrast. Iceland, Scandinavia, northern portions of the UK, well below average. The majority of the UK, in fact, below average. Then, of course, it's all about very, very significant heat across Spain and Portugal. But there is no clear link connection between the air mass that's lifting out of Africa across Spain and Portugal, and then, of course, northwards to the UK. We have got areas of low pressure that is going to slow down that northward progress of heat. So, in other words, we're not going to get anywhere near the level of heat, the extremity of heat versus the time of the year like we're seeing in Spain and Portugal. And a lot of the reason for that is the Arctic Oscillation, as well as the North Atlantic Oscillation, is firmly negative. Actually, the lowest negative NAO since 1995 for the month of April here. And I've already explained to you why I think that is taking place. Looks as if we don't hit 21.2 Celsius by the time we reach Sunday afternoon, the UK will have experienced its coolest April maximum since 2016, which is quite interesting stuff indeed. And many people are asking the question, when are we going to start to see proper warmth in the UK? I don't believe it'll happen until at least once we get into the month of May. It's not going to happen in the next few days. We will get a gradual warm up. We're going to increase the humidity as well in the coming days, so it will start to feel nice, warm, if you like warm, humid, that kind of early summer feel. But it's not going to come, straight away. So this is, of course, the contrast across Europe at the moment, which is quite significant. Looking at the UK for the current period here, so we've got sixes, sevens, eights across the northern half of the UK, and then, of course, we've got 10, 11, 12 Celsius across the bulk of England and Wales. Locally, 13, 14 Celsius. Rather subdued temperatures for the time of the year, and that was the case yesterday afternoon as well, where we had, of course, Arctic air in place, a very decent period of cold, of course, for the time of the year. Bear in mind that we're just a few days away from the month of May. We're also talking about the second night in a row where the temperatures surpassed -7 Celsius in the Highlands. We've seen a -7.4 at Tulloch Bridge yesterday morning, -7.3 at Loch Liscarnock this morning, and even at my nearby station of Tain, -6.4 was achieved. So another very significant night of radiational cooling, that's for sure. -1.9, a very significant cold temperature for Stornoway. Of course, you would typically expect to see slightly less severe cold on the Outer Hebrides as opposed to the Scottish mainland, of course. And of course, temperatures, the further south you go, as that slightly milder air is now starting to make inroads. Temperatures at Valencia Observatory in the southwest coast of Northern Ireland, or sorry, the Republic of Ireland, was seen 9.1 Celsius, 8.4 at Sherkin Island, and even up into Northern Ireland as well, we've seen temperatures above the freezing mark. So no frost here, as well as South Wales, southwest England. It was a relatively mild night compared to further north. But we've got, of course, the big contrast between the UK and indeed Spain and Portugal at the moment. This is off the GFS. The 2 meter temperature normally is here very cool compared to normal across Central and Northern Europe, as well as the UK and Ireland also. But we've got temperatures in excess of 16 Celsius above the average for southern Spain this afternoon here. Some incredible warmth indeed. Another cold night in the far north and far eastern side of the UK under clear skies, lightest winds for longest. We'll see the temperature dropping off once again this evening, but we've got slightly warmer than average temperatures now edging in across the southern half of the UK as well as Ireland. As you can see here, we'll play through the loop and you can continue to see. So chilly start across the north, a chilly day overall, average to slightly above average across the bulk of England, Wales, and Ireland. As you can see here, another scorcher of a day across Iberia. That's where, of course, the record may fall. Scotland staying slightly below average, as much as 4 Celsius below average actually across the Highlands tomorrow afternoon. Now warmer than average across England, Wales, and Ireland, as well as Northern Ireland, as you can see here. And you can see here the overall trend starting to warm up. Even on Friday afternoon, temperatures above average across the bulk of the UK and Ireland here. But notice here these 12s and 15s and 16s Celsius above the seasonal average never makes it all the way up into the British Isles. And the reason for that is because if you look at the overview chart, we do have areas of low pressure. We'll skip back and you can see what takes place here. So this area of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, the heat, of course, is focused across Iberia, trying to lift north. But as that area of low pressure develops, we've got a band of rain, even hill snow, progressing from kind of west-southwest to east-northeast across the board. So it's shutting that door to the blast furnace that we're seeing across the southwest of Europe here. Hence why we're not seeing these exceptionally warm temperatures progressing further north here. And as you can see here, that the isobars are not followed from Iberia, from northwestern Africa, all the way up into the British Isles. We actually find ourselves in a bit of a no man's land towards the end of the week and into the weekend here. We've got this kind of void in weather. We've got an area of low pressure to the east, high pressure to the north, high pressure to low pressure to the west, and we've got this kind of little slack flow in between where the weather isn't really progressing very much at all. We've got a fairly weak jet stream as well, so therefore we've got a rather monotonous kind of weather pattern as we progress through the weekend and into the early portion of next week. As you can see here, more disturbed weather moving in off the Atlantic here. So the heat never really makes it up into the British Isles here. When will it arrive then? Well, of course, the Arctic Oscillation is only going to try and attempt to get towards the neutral level, sorry, by the time we reach the middle portion of May. Certainly, into the second week of May anyway, it looks as if the Arctic Oscillation is going to maintain itself at kind of neutral levels. The NAO as well is pretty deep at the moment. Looks as if that's not going to really get much towards the neutral level towards the middle portion of the month. But what may help is the fact that the Manjulian oscillation is expected to go through phases 2 into 3 into 4 and into 5 over the next week or so. And what that may do, certainly during the winter months, and I know there is a different feedback during the winter season as opposed to the spring and summer season with the Mount-Julian Oscillation, but certainly the eastward progress through Africa, the Indian Ocean, and towards the continental maritime region may start to allow higher pressure and a bit more of a warmer pattern in the week 2 of May. I don't see it during the opening week of May. I think it's going to be a little bit of a kind of a stumble into the month of May in terms of temperature wise across the UK and northwestern Europe. But as that MJO progresses through 2, 3, 4, and possibly into 5, that may start to correlate to a little bit more summer like warmth towards the middle portion of the month. Now, if you look at the CFSV2, this is the weeklies, and you can see here that the upcoming week we are seeing that warmer than average temperatures lifting through Ireland, Northern Ireland, England, Wales, and eventually reaches Scotland. But notice here, the far north, the northeast of Scotland, stays below average all the way between the period 26th of April through the 3rd of May. So it is warming up across the British Isles as we progress through the next 7 days. But notice here it is firmly above average temperature-wise between the 3rd and the 10th of May. Is that the CFSV2 picking up on the Manjulian Oscillation progressing in the warmer phases 3, 4, and 5? Who knows? I'm not sure. But certainly I would be expecting towards the middle portion of the month we may start to see more appreciable warmth building into the UK and Ireland here. So that is certainly the feelings that I've got at the moment here. I will look more into that as we progress through the next week to 10 days or so with regards to whether these ideas that I've got has any sort of validity to it. But certainly the MJO may be starting to go into phases more favourable for warmth. Do we finally start to shake off that SSW hangover? We've lost that phase 8 into 1 of the MJO that promotes high latitude blocking and a cooler pattern. We'll wait and see certainly what happens. Looking at the precipitation, quite interesting actually, off the CFSV2. You can see here that week 1 it is wetter than average across Scotland, Northern Ireland, and the Republic, drier than average England and Wales, of course drier than average across Iberia, and that drought is definitely having an impact on the temperatures across Spain and Portugal at the moment. Central Europe, drier than average. Southern France into the Western Alps, wetter than average. North and East Europe, wetter than average. Notice here that we dry out with high pressure building overhead week 2. So this is the 3rd through the 10th of May. Is this the potential that we see the temperature in a more bodily fashion start to rise into the low 20s for the first time this year? We'll wait and see what happens. But notice here the period 10th through the 17th, we're back in a slightly wetter regime once again and averaged above average precipitation through the second half of May here. That's quite interesting to see. We'll look in the next couple of days certainly at the long range, what May is looking like, as well as what the early portion of summer may be looking like in terms of precip and temperature, so stay tuned for that. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Do enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, I'll see you again hopefully tomorrow with more. Bye for now.